All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled Tabortown Council meeting for July 17th, 2023. We first off do have a subdivision authority meeting, so we'll go through that one first, and I will call the subdivision authority meeting to order and ask for an adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And just to confirm, Councillor Sorensen, yes, we do have you on the line. Councillor Sorensen is with us virtually online today, and Councillor Bruin is attempting to be online with us. May be with us at some point later in the meeting. All right, item number 3, adoption of the minutes. We've done that. Or sorry, no, adoption of the agenda. Adoption of the minutes, item 3.1, minutes of regular meeting subdivision authority, March 28th, 2022. Mr. Thibault.
Just a regular subdivision authority meeting that's in front of you for your consideration.
All right, any questions or concerns arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the minutes of the regular meeting of the Subdivision Authority of March 28th, 2022.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Councillor Sorensen.
Sorry, in favor.
All right, carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 4, subdivision application. Item 4.1, subdivision TT 23-0-001, 5115 7th Street. Mr. Thibault.
We'll have Miss Selena Newberry come up and provide context.
All right, thank you. Ms. Newberry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilors. We've received a subdivision application for, I'm going to read the legal description because that's the proper description. For the southeast quarter section of Section 5, Township 10, Range Road 16, west of the 4th Meridian, civically described as 5115 57th Street. Most of us will know that as the old Lucerne plant. They're looking to subdivide the back portion of that property and create a new lot.
All right. Nothing else extraordinary attached to that?
No. So we have sent it out for all our regular circulations, received back our comments. Those are all attached for you. There are a couple of conditions we've added in with regards to some easements and things that will need to be in place. The first one is in regards to the small building that measures 7.3 meters by 10.38 meters. It's right along the property line, so we've requested that they enter into an encroachment agreement for that. And then there are some tanks that would be sitting right on the new property line they're trying to create. So we've either required that they enter into an agreement to allow those to remain there between the two properties or remove them. They are movable, and I do think they are planning to remove them from the property.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? All right, someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the Subdivision Authority approve subdivision TT 23-0-001, Lot 1, Block 1, Plan 141211 or 2121 within the southeast quarter section 5, Township 10, Range 16, west of the 4th Meridian, civically described as 5115 57th Street, with the following 12 conditions as listed.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. I just ask for a motion to close the subdivision authority meeting. Councillor McLean.
I so move, Mr. Mayor.
Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, and as far as the regular scheduled Tabortown Council meeting, I will call that meeting to order and ask for an adoption of the agenda as amended and striking item 7.7 as per administration request to deal with some further research related to that policy change. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the agenda as amended.
Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 4, adoption minutes. Item 4.1, minutes regular meeting of council, June 26, 2023. Mr. Tebow.
Regular meeting minutes in front of council for your consideration. Administration doesn't have anything to add.
Great, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on June 26th, 2023 as presented.
Great, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously, thank you. Item 4.2, minutes of special meeting of council, July 6th, 2023. Mr. Tebow.
Again, the very short minutes are in front of council for your consideration.
Great, thank you. Anything arising? Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the minutes of the special meeting of council held on July 6th, 2023 as presented.
Right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously, thank you. Item 6, bylaws, no bylaws. Item 7, action items. Item 7.1, appointment of deputy mayor. Mr. Tebow.
Given our departure of Councillor Rudd, we have to go through the process of deputy mayor, and Mr. Beckering is next in line and has agreed to do that. So if we could come up to the pulpit and
All right, thank you, Councillor Becker. Join me up front there, please. Reading the required oath of office for the deputy mayor position.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, Garth Beckering, swear that I will diligently, faithfully, and to the best of my ability, execute according to the law the office of Deputy Mayor for the town of Tabor for a term of July the 17th, 2023 to June the 30th, 2024.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll require a motion in that regard also, please. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council appoints Councillor Garth Beckering as deputy mayor to serve a term beginning July 17th, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.2, provincial appointment to Tabor Municipal Police Commission. Mr. Tebow.
as I believe council is aware, the province has updated the Victim Services Unit, and with that came along a provincial appointment to the Municipal Police Commission. So the background is there that speaks to all of it. It is a provincial appointment, but it does have to come to council for an approval or as per the recommendation that's there. There's not really a whole lot of choice. It's a provincial appointment, so I'll leave it with council, and I'll answer something if I can.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Firth?
No question. I brought this up at our police commission meeting, but I'd like to reiterate it for the rest of council. My disappointment in the process as to how these appointments came about. We were informed that we would have provincial appointments to our police commission, which I was not opposed to, but there was no consultation and no transparency around the application process. I'm not opposed to the particular individual that has been appointed. I think he will do a great job. He's been on the police commission before, but I tried to research ways that you could become a provincial appointee, and I couldn't find any information how to apply. So I don't think that that is in the spirit of transparency, and I was disappointed with the process.
Right, thank you. Mr. Tebow, just a question. Are you aware of anything that we should be aware of in the interest of transparency and in all fairness to any other potential applicants down the road on how that process actually works?
there's actually nothing I can speak to at this time, but administration can go away and pose some questions. I don't know what's happening right now for any other advertising because there is the ability to appoint up to 3, I believe, to this committee, or is it 2? Up to 2? So I don't know what's happening for any advertising or a second person for an appointment at this time, but administration can take that away.
All right, thank you. Just to clarify, I think even at the commission level, Councillor Firth, that wasn't made aware of, or made available rather, to confirm one way or the other with your questions and concerns?
What the process was? No, it wasn't. And actually, the AAPG, so the Alberta Association of Police Governance, at their recent conference, they had a discussion, and this has been the feeling from most police commissions in the province as well, that there was a lack of transparency around the process.
All right, thank you. With that, we will leave that in our administration's capable hands to take care of that for future information. Thank you. All right, Councilor McLean.
Do you still need the motion?
Yes, we do, yeah.
I move that council accepts the provincial appointment of Joseph Stravas to the Tabor Municipal Police Commission as stated in the ministerial order for a term of 3 years beginning April 24th, 2023.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.3, recreation sprayer tractor capital requests. Mr. Thibault.
We'll have Mr. Brian Martin and Chris Egan come forward to speak to the capital request.
All right, thank you. Mr. Martin.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
This request for decision concerns signing $25,000 in funds from capital reserves to the Parks and Rec Department to purchase a turf sprayer with airfoils. Currently, we're engaged in a contract that's coming to an end with our herbicide contractor, and it's approximately been costing us about $40,000 a year for 2 treatments a year. And we feel like the time is almost perfect with the contract, with them running out, and some of the weed problems we have. We'll have our own tractor and our own service, because within the last year we've hired an employee that works for our department that's a certified pesticide and herbicide applicator, so he could administer the town's spray program. So with that in mind, we are requesting $25,000 to purchase a used recertified sprayer instead of a new one. A new one's costs around $90,000. So it just came up that it was a good value for a reconditioned one.
All right, thank you. I just wonder if I have Mr. Oro to speak to that related to the financial side and the budgetary implication, and or how this may affect it. It's currently not in the budget.
I'm not very sure whether I understand the question. You want me to speak on the budgetary side of the cost for this?
Right. I guess because this wasn't, I know we've had this on occasion before, but just to confirm that there's nothing problematic from your financial perspective.
What I do know is, from the budget standpoint, what I do know is that council had already approved contracted services for 2023, and I think we have town and county that is doing this job for us for 2023. And as mentioned earlier, I think the budget is around 49,000, which is already under contracted services to do the job for 2023. So from budget standpoint, probably I'm not very sure whether from the operation side they want it now, or this is something we could be budgeted for 2024, because we do have the town and county doing the budget, doing the whole thing for us in 2023. That is the only thing I could mention on the budget side.
Okay, I guess just need some clarification. As I'm reading it, I'm thinking it's looking for this to happen forthwith, right? I think, right?
I'm not very sure whether the town and county is not fulfilling their requirements from the operation side. But what I do know is that town and county has a budget of 49,000 to do I think it is fertilizing and weed control for the town for 2023. So that has been approved by council. So if there is anything from the operation side that those guys are not doing, I'm not aware.
Okay. maybe administration can answer that. Is there anything problematic in that regard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, we have no issues with the current contract.
Okay.
We do have concerns around the limited ability we have to respond to particular situations. And so approximately a year ago, we started looking at this as an option to enhance service and potentially save costs. So while this year the operating budget is committed, and we will use Town and Country will spray one more time this year as per their contract, the opportunity to buy a recertified and used machine has arisen, and with that dollar value, instead of waiting and spending to buy a brand new machine, which wouldn't provide us any more utility, but would increase the cost substantially to the point where we would have to redo our financial calculations to determine whether we could ever repay for a new machine. So we just have this opportunity at the moment.
Okay.
The machine exists, and if we purchase it, they will recertify it, refurbish it and recertify it and provide it to us. And then as we enter into the next set of contracts, we will adjust the scope of the work. We will still use Town and Country in certain areas, but we will have our own sprayer and our own ability to do spot herbicide applications.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Roy. Councillor Firth?
I think you just answered my question, but for clarification, so moving forward, this is to supplement the contracted services. We are not bringing weed spraying in-house entirely. There will always be some contracted service associated with that.
That's exactly right.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been asked and answered, because my question was, if it makes sense on the surface to buy a $25,000 machine and save $40,000, but my question would have been, how many man hours does it take on the town's department to spray twice a year? Lots of hours, right? I mean, have you any idea at all, Mr. Martin, how many hours that would be?
No, we don't. I couldn't, off the top of my head, give you an answer for that.
But it's fine if it's just a supplementary, Mr. Mayor, it's supplemental to the contract, that's okay with me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions arising? All right. Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the council direct administration to purchase a used recertified turf sprayer with airfoils, holding tank, and hand sprayer for up to $25,000 with funds to come from capital reserves.
All right. Thank you. Motion on the table. Councillor McLean?
Sorry, I just had one more question. So I understand with the supplementary support there, so then do you know how much on average it's going to save us from you're spending 25 versus spending $40,000? But if you're still going to spend some on contracted services, do you know how much then we will potentially save?
We don't have that information exact to answer that particular question, but the contract for Town and Country will be reduced.
Okay.
And so their sprayer is much bigger than the one we're proposing. So that would still have a certain application.
Right.
Their contract will be reduced. We will take on some of that work. The operating costs, with the exception of the chemical, are sunk costs, and we would absorb that in our existing complement of staff. And then it would also afford us the opportunity to do spot treatments when and if we need it throughout the year and in a broader range of applications, so that we can provide a better service level than the 2 sprays a year we currently do.
All right. Thank you. We do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.4, utility reduction requests. Mr. Thibault?
Looks like Ms. Donna Wise is eager to get up here and talk to us about this one.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Wise.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
So we have a property owner that had some problems with his underground sprinklers, which resulted in quite a high utility bill, and he's looking to have that reduced.
All right. Thank you. Any questions arising? I guess for myself, it seems to me we had something similar a while back about some unawareness of an issue related to water consumption. The town red flagged that for the individual, as they've done in this case also, right? So this individual was not legitimately aware of his water excess usage.
No, the utility clerk, if she notices, quite a bit higher than usual consumption, will try and phone people, let them know, to find out if they know there's a problem or if there is,
Right,
that
right.
their bill will be higher.
So now I think, Mr. Orwa, there's something in the bylaw about that as far as it's the owner's responsibility, right? But I guess my question is, how would one know that? If, wherever that particular location is located, is that an unreasonable ask? And is he technically responsible? He wasn't aware that it was happening until they were red flagged.
Well, our bylaw says they are, whether they know
Right.
it or not.
Yeah,
I don't know enough about underground sprinklers to answer that, how you would
Yeah.
know, I don't.
All right.
I'm assuming you're gonna see a puddle in your yard, but I don't know that.
you're right, yeah. All right, thank you, Councillor Firth.
Thank you. While I can sympathize with this individual and that they were unaware, I also don't know that it should fall to the town to waive that. I know it's a tough situation, and yeah, I do sympathize with the person, but I am not in favor of waiving that utility amount.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen, any questions you're in?
I did. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering if this is a 1 month charge or if it was 2 months, because it sounded like from the letter that it was occurring over several months.
All right, Ms. Wise, any information on that?
It looks like the May bill was a little bit higher, like, they had consumption of 147 cubic meters, and the June bill had a consumption of 330 cubic meters, so it did go over 2 months. We wouldn't have picked it up in May, possibly, just because people
Right.
started watering. You never know how much people water their lawn.
Right, okay, fair enough. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to, some clarity there, Donna. How does the town administrative staff pick up on a higher than normal consumption? Is that a computer output or is that just a visual?
Well, mostly visual. She would just run through all the reads that come in monthly and just visual.
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
Sure,
I just want to commend Staffton for catching us, but that's, I'll tell you what, that's quite a,
Well, we try to not let them be surprised when they get their bill because it's quite high.
yeah, money is
Yeah.
money, no?
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it
right.
is.
Yeah, it's just,
No, job well done. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, no, absolutely. That's going above and beyond for
That's
sure
good service.
to help. But it's, by the same token, it's a difficult situation for the resident not being aware of that until this letter update. So it's, I don't know, I'm trying to put myself in that same situation. I didn't know. How are you supposed to rectify that if you're not aware of it, right? So that's virtually what's happened, and they took care of that forthwith afterwards, right? Yeah. Well, the letter indicated from the individual that they had done very soon after that. And so to me, they've done their due diligence and just asking for some assistance with a reasonable ask circumstance to me. So I would be speaking in favor of some type of a break anyway, given this individual or anybody in that same circumstance the benefit of the doubt to be fair and reasonable. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Councillor Firth?
No comment, but I'm prepared to make a motion at this time.
All right.
I move the council does not approve a reduction to utility account 432,500.003.
All right. Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Opposed?
Opposed?
All right. That is carried. Thank you. All right. On to item 7.5 tax penalty waiver. Mr. Thibault.
I think we'll have Donna speak on this one as well.
All right. Thank you.
So we had a property owner that had their mail returned to us and basically saying it has moved. I gave him a call. He said, no, I didn't move. Don't know why my mail was returned. And so he's asking to have his penalty waived. he was in on believe the 14th and did pay the tax bill in full, besides the penalty.
Right, all right, thank you. All right, any questions arising? Councilor McLean?
To me, it just seems kind of interesting that somebody would write, other than the homeowner, moved on the envelope and send it back to us.
I don't know if the homeowner wrote it or if it was the post office. Because the post office checks the box that's on there, but I don't know if they wrote that or not. I'm not sure.
Right. Usually it's like if you check your mailbox and you're like, oh, this isn't my mail, then you write like return to sender or moved or something, and then it gets put back in, right? And then that's when the post office then returns the mail. So to me, if the homeowner still lives there, I'm not sure why it got returned in the first place, but I'm not necessarily in favor of waiving this because everybody knows when taxes are due typically, and if you haven't received it in the mail, usually you would like call maybe, you're right? I don't know, but I don't know. Again, if the homeowner didn't receive it, then I don't know. It's kind of hard to kind of see that they didn't know that this was coming, but again, it's hard to not to sympathize with people, and and if it was a mistake, then mistakes are made, and I get that too. But I don't know. I don't know where I stand really yet.
All right, nothing else arising. Councilor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Prepared to make a motion.
All right, very well.
The council does not waive the July 1st, 2023 tax penalty in the amount of $277.89.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
All right, thank you. Carried unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, item 7.6, follow-up related to Tabor District Housing Foundation requests. Mr. Tebow.
So I'll try and speak to this one, but there are other members. Mr. Mayor was one of them that I recall that attended this meeting for the joint meeting that we held with our four neighbors. So Village of Barnwell, Town of Vauxhall, and MD of Tabor, and we discussed the Clearview expansion and modernization. In that presentation, Mr. Jansen had presented a couple of formulas where we could try and get the funding to go across with a few different ways. So what's in front of you today is sort of the background discussion of what we had. The project is about $25,000. 1/3 of that is required. Or sorry, yes, $25 million. And 1/3 of, just let me get my change per se. 1/3 of that is to come from municipalities, about $8.5 million. 1/3 from federal and 1/3 from provincial. So the way this was set up was very similar to, if council remembers, what we did with Cherry in Maine, that the funding of this project would be reliant on actually getting the grant funding from the other parties, inclusive in this case of Village of Barnwell, Town of Vauxhall, and MD of Tabor. So the split that was done kind of arrives at this maximum amount, which is why it's potentially one of the alternatives is worded up to the amount. So it wouldn't exceed that based on the presentations. It could be less than that depending on what else happens. So that's kind of where we're sitting with that, and I'll turn it over to anyone else, Mr. Mayor, who maybe would want to speak a little more to that joint meeting.
All right, thank you. Myself, Councilor McLean, Councilor Firth, and Councilor Sorensen was also there. So welcome to chime in as well. But I think it was a very good meeting overall with the concept related to the project and the need for that. So I guess bottom line is we got to start somewhere. And I think everybody's fairly receptive to that. Maybe Barnwell and Vauxhall not quite as much because of their financial situation, but they were not opposed to it. They were just kind of wondering how they were able to handle that figure, even the small sum compared to town of Tabor and the MD of Tabor amounts. But yeah, it's very well received and very, very much needed. So I would be in favor of going forward with that as well. Anything else? Councilor
If
Sorensen?
I can,
Sure.
sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in favor of this also. I think there's just a question of, what's our part in it. And I was wondering, there was two figures, based on tax assessment and based on population. And I was just wondering if administration investigated, what normally is the share, on taking on, these projects.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Tebow?
So not knowing, I don't know that there is a particular formula that we land on for any particular grant, Councillor Sorensen. There is, what was used was very typical, being either a tax-based or a population-based type of model, but I don't think there's any rule of thumb, unless Mr. Orwa knows of a rule of thumb from a financing perspective that we would typically use. That's not uncommon to see what we saw. Mr. Orwa?
Well, actually, when we get requisition from the seniors, normally it goes through equalized assessment. So we use assessment and not population. But I also noticed on that presentation as well on their data on the population, I think the population is not accurate. I'm not very sure when they got that population. If you bring it up, I don't think that is the population of Tabor. Neither is it the population of other municipalities. So they could have used an old data. And if at all that is done, then those numbers will be revised. But in most cases, equalized assessment is normally used to get the requisition for the seniors. And if they're having some kind of development like they've had sometimes in the past, where they have the capital, they will add that to the requisition. So
Thank you,
look at
Mr.
that
Roy. I think that's very accurate. I believe we are both closer to the 9,000 mark on the books, MD included. And so that would be out quite a bit according to the MD figure. But I'm just wondering about, in all fairness, Mr. Orwa was indicating the tax assessment is what is used quite often. That's correct?
That's correct. They use equalized assessment for population.
Okay, but I'm just wondering because of, everybody's in the same boat with senior parents, grandparents, et cetera. So if it's for the same individual purpose, I'm not so sure that population doesn't fit that mold better in some ways. But that's just an observation I have. Mr. Tebow?
I just wanted to mention that if I recall correctly, Mr. Jansen did say that this presentation was the same presentation that was presented, I think, in 2021. So chances are this is the 2021 population census. That's why you see what you see.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did not attend that particular meeting, but I do know the circumstances surrounding all this. And I'm in favor of the project, there's no doubt. How can you be opposed to it? I do think, though, that the requisition in the past of on the foundation has been equalized assessment. That's been historically true. So in this case, it would fit. However, there's a huge disparity, of course, between the MD of Tabor and the town of Tabor regarding possible contribution based on assessment. And I understand that also. At the last meeting, Mr. Mayor, if you recall, I said I would really consider and be in favor of some kind of a hybrid, not based on population only, not based on assessment only, some hybrid in between. We all share the pain somewhat, because I do think that if you go by the assessment, that's probably not fair to the MD of Tabor. I do also think that if you go by a population, it's probably not fair to the town of Tabor. So, was that discussed at all at the meeting, and is there appetite for that? Even though I'm in favor of the project, I'm not in favor of either of these scenarios regarding funding.
All right, yeah, fair statements, and it's got some good points there, and I think that's very plausible in a lot of ways. I'm just still wondering, like it says, some of his parents that live in the MD or some of his parents that live in the town of Tabor, they're going to the same facility. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not quite sure why that wouldn't be the same. I guess you get into other comparisons. town of Taber pays more recreation than MDE does, blah, 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 you know, in that case scenario. But I mean, this is a little more involved to me as far as, I don't know, like I said, everybody at some point runs into this very same scenario. So how is it not fair and equal for everybody? Just because one entity has more value than another, I'm not quite sure how that fits exactly, but Councilor McLean.
I just had a question because I was at that meeting with everybody, but then I missed the presentation meeting because I was sick. But does the foundation not contribute anything to this project? Well, no. 1/3 is the municipalities, 1/3 is the provincial, 1/3 is the federal. So does the foundation contribute anything to this project is what I'm wondering.
All right, Mr. Tebow.
I don't know what the foundation's proportion is supposed to be. Carly, do you?
Councilor Firth.
I don't recall, but and correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression was that the 1/3 that was federal funding was to come from CMHC, which was actually a loan for Taber and District Housing Foundation. Is that correct?
Correct, it is a loan, yes.
Yes. So then that would be their 1/3, but financed via CMHC.
That sounds
correct?
accurate. I think so, yeah. And Mr. Tebow, you had something else to add also?
Yes, it was back to Councillor Beckering's question. I believe that Mr. Jansen was quite open to exploring any models that might move this project forward. He came up with the requisition model because that is the way things normally take place. Through that meeting, we had a discussion around the population model, but yeah, there's an openness to find a way to get to the end of this, you know, from a financial perspective. So again, in the alternatives, there's an ability to go up to an undisclosed amount at this point in time if council were to decide to put a number to it. But again, if we say, you know, the wording is up to a particular number, it doesn't mean that we are going to that number. We could figure out a model, you know, at some point in time. The commitment is what they're looking for because they can't do anything further with the grant without some kind of a financial commitment being made.
All right, thank you. Councilor Firth?
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Beckering. I would like to see some sort of hybrid model, and the impression that I got at the meeting was that from our other partners that they were certainly willing to have that conversation, and there was some flexibility there, and everybody did seem in favor of moving this project forward. And I think that alternative of an amount up to 4.5 million would fit that quite well, and so I'm prepared to make a motion at this time.
Very well.
I move that council directs administration to draft a borrowing bylaw on behalf of the Taber and District Housing Foundation for the Clearview Lodge expansion and modernization project up to a maximum of 4.5 million, provided that Taber and District Housing obtains the requisite funding from the Alberta government, CMHC, MD of Taber, Town of Vauxhall, and the Village of Barnwell as outlined in both proposed options provided by Taber and District Housing.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, on to item 7.8, workplace harassment prevention policy. Mr. Tebow.
So I'll be speaking on behalf of these policies today. This particular policy, there's been some just updates, as you noticed in the highlighting. It's formatting, it's moving some items out of the policy and into the procedure, so all the information still exists. This just lines up with the rest of our policies as far as the look and the feel of them. So that's all there really is to this workplace harassment prevention policy.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor McLean?
No questions. I'm just prepared to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that council approves the workplace harassment prevention policy CS-HR-12 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.9, workplace violence protection policy. Mr. Tebow.
Again, this one very similar to the last one. Both of these policies are quite similar, mirror each other. So the very same types of changes, some formatting, some moving information from the policy to the procedure.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising on this policy? Councillor, sorry, McLean? Beat you to it.
I will push the button. I move that council approves the workplace violence prevention policy, CS-HR-11 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 710, response to standing item resolution 195-2023. Mr. Tebow.
We'll get Mr. Chris Egan to come up and explain what's in front of you.
Thank you, Mr. Egan.
Your Worship and Council. So this is a response to standing item resolution 195-2023 made by Councillor Firth at the June 12th meeting of Council in regards to potential remedies for odor and taste issues with the town potable water supply. Public Works and the utility have undertaken some project inception planning, which is high-level planning. The treatment plant can be modified with a charcoal-based system. There are several different options, but any option we pursue will be in the range of the $1.5 million for the plant upgrade. And at this point in time, we're suggesting that administration bring this project forward during the 2024 capital budget considerations.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Egan, have you done some research regarding other municipalities? Have they used this particular system? Are you aware of that at all? Or?
Yes, the system, the municipalities that, this is a very typical system for plants that are configured like ours. So there would be a slightly different system for a membrane plant versus our particular types of plant. But the activated charcoal system in general is kind of the best option for removing taste and odor.
So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure,
Follow up
you
then,
bet.
can you name a municipality that's got this?
I can't, but I can find that out and
Please.
return to council.
Please, thank you.
All right, thank you. I just wondered if by chance there's some grant options available for something like this, a major expenditure in this regard, by chance.
I'm sure there are
Okay.
grants associated with plant upgrades and renewal,
All right, thank
similar
you.
to the clarifier we used, that approach.
All right, thank you. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Mr. Egan, thank you for the work to bring this information forward. And I would agree with your assessment to bring it forward for the 2024 budget deliberations. I'm not sure that taste and odor is worth 1.5 million. I might be in the minority. I am glad that our water is always safe to drink, but I understand that there have been concerns raised every year by citizens, so I thank you for this information.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Firth.
Thank you. I move that council receives the RFD for information.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 711, information for council. Mr. Tebow.
Bit more speaking for Mr. Tebow tonight. So the information for council, we've got an update on the AEIP immigration program. Just some updated numbers for council's information. We try and supply this quarterly. I also supply this through, it could be, I thought it was me. Also supply this through regular council updates when I get the information. So that's there, and we have had some recent interest from the town of Cardston. We haven't worked on any of the details. We don't even know if we can assist them the way that they'd like to be assisted, just because of their geographical location to us. It makes it difficult to provide the same level of service to someone that far away. So we're going to have those discussions, but the program's going quite well. And then the second bit of information is just an update, quarterly update on the capital projects. You'll notice that some of them have a percentage that say 75%, but they're actually completed if you see them in the green highlighted portion. So I'll leave that with council. If there's any questions, I can try and answer.
Thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regarding the immigration process that we're piloting with a whole bunch of municipalities, correct? I mean, we're adding on perhaps Cardston and Lethbridge County just came on board, which is all very nice. I love collaboration. But somebody should be paying a little bit of money, I think, somewhere, no?
Yes, sir, they should. And we've actually got Amy working with finance, and we're trying to figure out a formula that is equitable and consistent across all of it. So we've got a couple ideas, and we let everyone know that we were doing a trial period to start with to see what kind of activity that involved. But yes, we are working on, and everyone is aware that we are going to be implementing some formula at some point to recoup. We shouldn't really be looking after other people's taxpayers. Last I checked, not too many people outside of our municipality were looking after our taxpayers.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, no motion required. Moving on to 7:12, department reports. We'll go through those individually. If you have any questions, please advise accordingly. First is administrative service report. Finance department report. Economic development report. Engineering and public works report. Treatment facilities report. CAO department report. Fire department report. Recreation planning and facilities report. Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had one question. I think I attended the July 1st festivities and they were well done and stuff. I just had a question on who decided to have breakfast at from 10 to 12. I don't know, I got a lot of feedback from other people that it was like super late and it was like, oh, second breakfast instead of morning breakfast or brunch. But I guess, I don't know, maybe it was like to then proceed into other things that were going on in the afternoon. I think it was well done and everything, but I was just curious, that's all.
All right, thank you, Mr. Thibault.
So I don't have a particular name for you, Councillor McLean. I'll just say administration thought that for the exact reason you mentioned. So we had noticed last year that everyone clears out from breakfast by 10 o'clock and then there's far less people attending the actual ceremony piece and the other events that start there afterwards. So that was the thought process around moving it from an 8 o'clock start to a 10 o'clock start and having those 2 hours, and then it rolls into the 12 o'clock sort of ceremonies. So certainly open to other adjustments, but that was the methodology or the thinking behind that.
All right, thank you. And on to HR department report. All right. Nothing further, no motion required there. On to item 713, mayor and council reports. Councillor Firth, if you start us off, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended all regularly scheduled meetings, as well as the flag raising for Canada Day, and I also would like to say the event was very well done, so nice job, administration. I attended a Cornfest meeting with the Taber Chamber of Commerce. I would like to just share the information that Cornfest is still looking for volunteers, so if anybody has some time to give at the end of August, the Taber Chamber would certainly appreciate help with setup and tear down and other assorted jobs. I also attended the Clearview Lodge funding meeting as well with the Taber Town Council, Barnwell Council, Vauxhall Council, and the MD of Taber Council. And just on Saturday, I attended the Old Man Mayhem race that was organized by Trail 77. It was very well done. The feedback seemed really great. I did not ride my bike in it, but all of the bike riders, or the racers, I guess they're called, seemed to be very happy with the event. So thanks to Trail 77 for bringing that to our community. That's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing noteworthy to report. I think I went to one meeting. Most of the meetings that committees I'm on are done for the summer, so I think I went to one meeting and nothing to report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended most meetings, just the one that I missed for council last time, but yeah, everything else, I also attended the Canada Day celebrations, and they were very well attended and very well put on. My kids appreciated second breakfast, so it was lovely. And also for the library board, if you wanted to go onto the library website, they are doing like a needs assessment. If you wanted to put in any information on how the library could improve anything, then you can have your chance to say right now. So just wanted to throw that out there. But other than that, nothing to report. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended all of my meetings. Also, I attended the Clearview Lodge expansion project, and I also joined the Joint Economic Development meeting, which I'm looking forward to the local first farm to table event, which is coming up here very soon.
All right, thank you. And for myself, I attended a variety of meetings, document required signing as well. I also attended the Clearview Lodge expansion project meeting, as well as the Canada Day celebration event. That was very well done and very well attended, very well received. I also attended the Potato Growers Association grad opening and open house event. And I attended the Taber Public Library Reading Day event for the kids program this past week, as well as the Trail 77 Old Man Mayhem mountain bike race down at the MD Park. Just under 100 riders attended, and there was probably double that in attendance. I think Councillor Firth sounds about right. And very well attended, very well received, and very well planned and very well done event by our infamous Trail 77 group, 200 strong. So good for them, and they're making great inroads and a lot of great opportunities for the riders and users of that trail system. And that would be my report, and no motion required in that regard. On to item 714, standing item council requests. Mr. Thibault.
Okay, we'll wander through my favorite list. So as mentioned, we did look after resolution number 195-2023 a little earlier. The other three do remain in progress, but I would point out that we are looking into some subsidies. We're close to, we didn't quite have it ready for this time, but for the multi-unit residential housing, that you will see that at the next council meeting, so that will get moved off of the in progress. But the other ones are still in progress at this time. So I'll turn it over to council if there was anything else that came up.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had one little thing. I was wondering if administration could look into the cost of putting a bench out by the Trout Pond playground for parents to sit at.
That might already be in the works, but Mr. Martin, I saw your hand go up in the air.
I know this answer. We just received delivery of the 4 new benches, so they're just in a box still. So you can go sit in them if you like, but they're still in a box.
Great, thank you. Any other new standing item council requests? Councillor Sorensen, anything you're in?
No, sorry, nothing for this month.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, seeing nothing further, I've just asked for a motion to move into the dinner break and attend our delegation at 5 o'clock. Attendance. Councillor Beckering. Yes, Mr. Mayor. Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, if we could reconvene the meeting, please, and on with our item 8, delegations, 8.1. Ken McDonald concession, Kinsman delegation. Mr. Tebow.
So I've been informed that we have Brian Planger here, and I guess because he's the only one here, he will be coming up and speaking to the request.
Mr. Brian Planzer, welcome. You need to stand or sit if you like, either or. Sure, I'll just get you to hit that mic button there and activate that right in front of you. Just right in front of you, right in the center of that. It should show. There you go.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So I'm sure you guys have all read the letter, but I'll just summarize a little bit and then
Sure.
we'll go from there. So as per the letter, we've been involved with the Tabor Baseball Softball Improvement Society. Starting in 2019, we partnered with them to help get the fourth diamond built at the Ken McDonald Sports Field. And that went really well. The Kinsman role in that is mostly, as the letter says, to be a conduit for the funding, because their association isn't a society, and we are. So the town gave us the money, and we were kind of the watchdog of the money and of the project as a whole. But they ran everything. They did 99% of that project. Again, in 2021, in May, we were asked to partner with that same group as they had moved their attention to the concession to go in between the four diamonds. And that project has stalled out. There were really two members that were driving that from their society. One of them moved away. We were told it wouldn't be a problem. He would be coming back on his time off to continue the work. He was passionate about it. It just hasn't happened. And the other member, a little bit of change in career, less opportunity, and a little bit of change in desire. And I think he was being a little bit overwhelmed trying to do this whole thing on his own. So he came to us at the beginning of May of this year and said, I need help. So we've helped him a bit in the volunteering. We got some manpower out to do some different projects to try to speed things along and further the project. Unfortunately, we could tell at that time that we'd be here for another year if we continue to try to grab a weekend or an evening here and there. And we want to get this building done. We signed on as, to take responsibility. So we've kind of the Kinsman Club has taken over the build of that. So a budget at that time was prepared, and the town granted $100,000. It's not enough to finish the building. I think the budget of 100 was good for what was budgeted, but they missed a lot of stuff, and therefore a deficiency in funding is definitely in place. So at the bottom of the letter, it's pretty clear we have $18,500 left of that 100,000, and we've gained quotes and expenses of up to $53,000 with a $34,500 shortfall. So we're asking for $40,000 to be granted to finish that project, and of course that provides a small $5,000 contingency. I will say as well as the other society, we've leaned on some of our contacts, businesses and different people that have been able to provide really good pricing on things. Electrically, they're helping us out. The company that put in the septic system he didn't do it for nothing, but he did it, the best price he could give us with a small donation of his time and equipment. So I don't see how we're going to do it any cheaper than what we have. Since this letter was drafted, there's been more work done. And I would say that at this point, $18,500 is not there anymore because we would owe those people that much money, and we're basically at $0. So we need more funds to continue the project.
All right, thank you. Fair enough. Councillor Pickering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, thank you, Mr. Planger. I have watched with great interest over the last 4 years the proceedings for the fourth diamond and now for the concession stand, which is under construction. And all I can do is tip my hat off to you guys. It's just an incredible job that I know that you did as a supervising agency, basically for the fourth baseball diamond, now taking over the project. Kudos to you, sir, and it's incredible. wholly in favor of granting you $40,000. I think it's just great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Firth.
Thank you. And yeah, I'd like to echo what Councillor Beckering said. Thank you guys so much for what you've done so far in partnering and overseeing. I just had a question about what does finishing the building entail? Like, is that just the building envelope itself, or does that include any contents?
Okay, so when we took over, or when we started helping in May, we ended up putting some beams on the outside to support the outside roof. The gables that were hanging over were just supported with some 2x4s, and it wasn't good. So we ended up going out and helping with that to get that supported properly. Then on the outside, there's soffit and fascia to complete. Of course, electrically, lights and plugins to be installed. On the inside, when we took it over, it was framed, and the rough-in plumbing was done. Half of the electrical rough-in was done. And yeah, that's kind of where it was at. So when we brought in somebody for some assistance, since then they've finished the beam work outside. They've finished the framework inside. There was a lot. We were told the framing on the inside was done. It wasn't. So we fixed all that. The doors have been all rehung because they weren't hung properly. So there was going to be some issues down the road. So we took care of fixing that. And then it was inspected after the electrical rough-in was finished. Then we did drywall, or pardon me, insulation and poly. Another inspection, and now it's drywalled. The ceilings are all stippled, and we are waiting for a painter to show up later this week to paint the walls and the floor. And then after that, we can start finish plumbing, partitions in the bathroom, countertops, cupboards and countertops in the kitchen area or concession area. I don't want to call it a kitchen because it's not. Where else? What else? And then finish electrical. Of course, all the lights and plugins on the inside needs to be finished.
Okay.
And the roll-up windows. There's 2 roll-up windows in the concession area that'll have to be installed. They're not complete yet.
Okay. And sorry.
Sure,
follow up.
you had.
And you guys project to have this completed by August 15th. That's ambitious.
We were really trying to get it done by the end of this month.
Okay.
It's not going to happen, but we're pushing for August 15th.
Wow, it's impressive. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you.
And
In
welcome.
person, yes.
Yes.
Had a hiccup there. But I just want to thank everyone and all the volunteers that have worked on this project. And I'm sure this 40,000 doesn't include all the volunteer extra work that people are going to put in with this. And being on the rec board, this is a topic almost monthly of, you know, how much further do we anticipate before it's completed. So I'm fully in support of this.
All
And
right.
I'd be prepared to make a motion.
Sure. I just had a
Oh, sorry.
comment there too also. Brian, just thank you so much for your presentation as well, and thank yourself and the Kinsman for all your many efforts you've done for the 4th Ball Diamond and now taking on this additional project that is just a great asset and amenity for all the Taber area users and visitors alike. So we cannot thank you enough for all your support and all your many efforts to deal with this at this stage.
You're welcome. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that the Kinsmen have been a fairly small part of this. The 4th Diamond, the Softball Baseball Improvement Society, they've done the lion's share of the work.
Right.
They just seem to have, on this one, they're stalled out, and I'm not sure when it's going to get done. So that's why we've stepped in. So the credit for all that work is really theirs.
All right. No, I think we have recognized them also, but I know Kinsman's been a big part of this as well, including the start of the 4th Ball Diamond, the completion as well. So we know you're very involved. You're a humble guy on a good day. I think so. I think that's what we're seeing here today. But we can't thank all of you, all that are involved to make this happen at this stage. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'd like to make a motion that council directs administration to allocate an additional $40,000 from capital reserves for the completion of the Ken McDonald Memorial Sports Complex concession.
All right. Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you all.
All All right, Mr. Tebow, on to any media inquiries whatsoever? Seeing none, all right. All right, with that, I've asked for a motion to move into closed session, please. Motion on the table, all in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you.